Hey, this is Steve. I'm making a quick Camtasia screen capture of some of the things that we're doing here at Blue Ocean Tribe. I'll put a few things on the screen here, and we'll see if we can get through this. Um, the first thing I have on screen here is Wicked Mutiny. Wicked Mutiny is a piece of the project where we're essentially building a mutiny against pretty much everything that business does for a living these days. And I have a list down here. It's kind of a big one, and it's going to knock you back on your heels when you see it. These are some of the things we're mutinying against: getting new customers, developing a brand, developing your own personal brand, creating what we call KLT, or know, like, trust, list building. You've heard a lot about that. Build a list, mail the list, get them to buy all your stuff. Dressing for success, figuring out what tie to wear, whether it's a two-piece or a three-piece. All that, how to comb your hair and how to cut your nose hairs properly. Um, Long-term follow-up. This is where you badger people over months and years to get in your thing or whatever you're doing. And if you don't follow up with them, then you're not going to make any damn money. Raising money through venture capital. This is where you give away a piece of your pie, a piece of your operation to somebody else who has the money that you don't in order to get you off the ground. Borrowing money. This is kind of a big thing, has been for humans for many thousands of years. We pitched it in the crapper, round file, bye-bye, no borrowing. No liabilities. Liabilities doesn't make any sense to us. Answering objections. Objections should be answered in the mind of the prospect, not by the person presenting the offer. And so we are mutinying against any objection handling. Objection handling is stupid. And then working really hard. Okay, working really hard is what everybody is charged with doing since they were born. Their mother tells them to, their minister tells them to, their teacher tells them to. They get scolded if they're not working really hard. And we said, well, people don't like to work, especially they don't like to work hard. So we're getting rid of that one. That one goes in the crapper. Let's get rid of it. Let's play hard instead of working. Doesn't that make more sense? And then the last one I have here is 5-year plans, detailed budgeting, so that you can squeeze that 1 or 2% of your sales price out for the shareholders or for the equity owners, the stakeholders, right? You have to get those 5-year plans exactly right, know exactly what's going to happen in the next year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, even 10-year plans, and then budget everything real carefully. We said that's nonsense. That's working for it. We want to play for it. Then we don't have to budget. So there's actually a video of this. I can put it in the links down below, or in the document that you're getting, or if it's on a web page. There's going to be different ways of delivering this. But I talk about it on a 49-foot long-range trawler called the Maverick that I operated this project on for a little over a year. And I kind of just in your face lay all this out, all of the things that we're mutinying against. And these are really disruptive, renegade ideas that raise a lot of eyebrows, and especially in the business world and the marketing world. And they're kind of radical, and they're almost complete departures from the way most humans have conducted their business and their commerce forever. For since the camel trains that went through the Middle East in the Fertile Crescent 5, 6, 7,000 years ago. We've been doing these things the same way, and everybody expects that we need to keep doing them this way because they've been done for 5 or 6 or 7,000 years. That's nonsense. There are new developments in the world, new developments in technology, new developments in marketing, new developments in the way the world is connected and talks to each other and buys things from each other. And they eliminate all this crap that I just talked about. They just eliminate it. You don't need any of that anymore, as long as you have somebody that shows you how to do things completely differently. And when you're in this position where you're offering a solution that doesn't play by any of the old rules, that puts you in a blue ocean strategy business. And that's why we call this a blue ocean tribe. And that leads you to true monopoly power, because you're in the catbird seat. You're the only one that has a solution that does this without all that BS. And suddenly you find yourself with hardly any limits except your own imagination. Zero stress. I mean, the only stress you're going to have is, what are you going to do for fun today? And maybe teasing the videographer so that they point the camera where they're supposed to point it to show people the fun. I mean, that's about the extent of the stress. And then your day is done and you can get on with playing, having fun, having a cocktail, putting the sails up, going for a dive, going for a ride, exploring nature, whatever you like to do with your time. So we've largely pitched all the rules and we've decided to invent our own. And that's disruptive. That's incredibly disruptive technology. And in a single word, people say they're looking for freedom. Well, freedom is, you're free to be blind, deaf, and dumb. You want sovereignty. Sovereignty is where you own the means of production. It's where you own your time. You own your day, your week, your month, your year. You are sovereign. You don't listen to anyone, not significant others, not governmental agencies, not clerics. Nobody tells you what to do when you're sovereign. And that's what we're doing, is building sovereignty for our mates, for our tribe mates. We call them knights. You'll hear references to medieval times, even ancient history. We just get used to it. We cover a lot of ground here, not just in the present, but in the past. That's how we ferreted all this stuff out and made it into a solution that allows you to be sovereign. And so you have to get used to some of our acronyms and some of our big words and some of our big ideas. One of the things you're going to find in this group is we think really, really big. And most people don't. We're trained to think small. We're trained to think baby steps. We're trained to think work in a cubicle, get an education, work for somebody else, do what you're told. When they say jump, ask how high, come home and be miserable because you don't have any damn sovereignty. You're a slave. You're really not that much different than the hunter-gatherer of 100,000 years ago that had to listen to the pack leader of the tribe. When they said move, you moved if you didn't want to get your head cut off. And we want people to have sovereignty because we find that if we have business partners who are sovereign like we are, then we have a whole bunch more fun together and we make a whole bunch more money that way. It kind of boils down to a single word, memetics. And memetics is also known as duplication, duplicability, copyability, the ability to teach another human being how to do what you know how to do. And it turns out with money making, that's really hard. It's really hard to duplicate money making. They can do it. They have all the fun. They get the red carpet treatment. They get to run around the world half naked. And you're caught holding the bag. You don't get it. What is at the heart of memetics is sex. Or to put it more technically, the brain chemicals that are made in a human when they're having sex. We like to call it the dose marketing approach, which is short for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. And there's some other chemicals floating around in there like cortisol, but those first four spell dose. And you need a really high dose turned up in your prospect so that they recognize that you have something they want. They want to live that kind of life. That kind of excitement, that kind of adventurous path that they don't get to live with all the old rules. And when you turn that dose up, they'll buy anything. They'll pay any amount. They don't care. They're coming for you when you put this in front of their nose. And those hormones and brain chemical agents make them feel like $1,000,000, and they want some of that. And they're ready to live like you live. So when you're looking at conducting business and producing sales, maybe building a marketing organization that produces sales and makes a lot of money so that you can solve problems. If you don't have money, you can't solve problems. You can't eat. You can't live in a nice place. You can't travel. You can't help others. And in our case, we expand that to helping wildlife and helping causes that are trying to do the right thing for the living systems of the planet. That's what the wicked part of the mutiny is about. Wicked is just deep code for wisdom and for wildlife, and both of them are wrapped around each other. If you figure out how to take care of the wildlife of the planet, then you have a wise culture. Right now we have a really, really, really stupid, moronic culture that beats the crap out of the wildlife and destroys the living systems, the web of life, the biosphere, the geosphere, and now we're in a lot of trouble. Mostly because there's too damn many of us. So with mimetics, we've essentially changed the product to the equivalent of sex, or the chemicals made during. And that makes the product sell itself. Now you'll hear people say sex sells, sex sells, sex sells, but very, very few people add the itself part. Sex sells itself. And if you look at those letters, SSI, sex sells itself, you get a very socially secure income, because this is ancient. This is millions and millions of years old. It's older than human. It's mammalian. In fact, it's older than birds and mammals, which are 300 million years old, approximately. Actually, I don't think the mammals are that old, but we came ashore 300 million years ago, and it took until about 100 million years ago for us to have warm-blooded animals because of flowering plants. That's another story. We'll talk about that on some of our assets down the road. So was that really so hard? If your product isn't sex or isn't about the chemicals made during sex, then you have the wrong product. Get rid of it and replace it with a product that does make those chemicals. The entire story is deep in this project. You can study it. You can become a master of it. You can learn it. You can use it to help your friends, to help your favorite causes, to help rebuild your community, because they don't know how to sell sex. They don't know how these really important human neurochemicals work in your favor to sell things. And right now, you're in what we call a frame collision, which is you're on your side with your preconceived notions, your worldviews, your baggage, all of the things that you've seen in your life. And we're on this side saying, you know, we have a few quadrillion souls on this side, which are the krill and the blue whales and the polar bears and the eyes and the lemurs and the, you name it, the snakes. And they're saying we need help. We need people who want to do something for us, who want to be an advocate for us. They don't have any. They don't get to vote. The wildlife of the world doesn't get to vote. They don't have a bank account. They can't pay off a lobbyist in order to get a law written so that they get to survive a few more years. They're going extinct by the hundreds, probably by the thousands, and that's not going to end well for humans. And we want to try to turn that around. We don't even know if it can be turned around, but we're going to have a whole bunch of fun and make a whole bunch of money and bring our favorite people in the world into this as we make a shot at it. Life is just a try. Everybody who's lived on this planet has had periods where it didn't look good. It looked like we were goners. And yet they kept trying. And that's what you have to do if, in our view, if you're on this planet and you have this mess on your hands, is to make a try at it. So to cut to the chase, we're building a physical digital framework for marketers and business owners and entrepreneurs. And the physical side of it is the sex objects. It backs the digital framework, which is state of the art, which is what others have tried to put together and then let stand on its own. That doesn't work. You need a physical backed digital framework. And the physical is islands, which we own, fee simple, perfected security interest, that kind, not rented, not borrowed, not, some mirage. Oh, guess what? We rented this for a few days and you get to go enjoy it. No, we own these things. Large yachts, luxury motorhomes, high country, equestrian, mountain, ranches and estates, lake front, beach front. It's a big undertaking. And that's why people don't do it. They're lazy. They just want to get on the internet and make it all digital, and that's hard. That means 1 out of 10,000 are going to be successful at it. If you've got what we call the sex objects, the dose assets working for us that turn these human neurochemicals on, then you have power to recruit, to train, to motivate, to set aside the fears and the doubting Thomases in the family or among the friends. When the yacht is sitting right there and you're on it and you're on video and you're saying, come on, the water's warm, this isn't that hard, get your butt down here and let's make some money together for the environment, for ourselves, for our favorite causes. We're not ruling out all of the human causes, but our big one is the natural world, is the oceans and the rainforests and the water systems and the problems that we have all throughout the biosphere. So we're putting a very, very small, here's a picture of Tuggy. This is a 45-foot, 86-year-old, keel-cooled, working Puget Sound relic. It's known all over Puget Sound. It's really, really inexpensive. And here's the Samson. And the Samson is a 55-foot catch. I mean, these things are pennies on the dollar, and they turn these chemicals on. When you step aboard one of these, or when you see somebody under full sail on one of these, and we don't have those, we have some video of some earlier vessels that we've owned. This is all proven technology. There isn't anything here that we have to prove. But as we get these assets into play, into service, you're going to see explosion in the marketing of this framework like you've never seen anything ever do in the history of recruiting, especially recruiting on the internet, because pretty much everybody on the internet is just using digital. We're not. We know this is what turns people on. This is what makes people go, what the fuck? You're kidding. We get to enjoy those forever, for our whole life. This is stewardship, not just of the digital side of the house, the digital products, the network blogs, the media wiki farms, the simplified SEC, where you know search engine marketing and you know search engine logistics and social media mastery, dominance. We know all that. We have thousands of years between this group of marketers that has done all that. We know how to build sites. We know how to write code. We know how to make those assets happen. But without the physical, like Lucy here, you're not going to turn on those brain chemicals, and you're still going to get 1, 2, 3% people want to do what you're doing, and they're going to be out in 3 months because it's too hard. This makes it easy. This makes it rhesus monkey simple. If you're over a 50 IQ, you can do this. All you have to do is invite people. They see it, or they come to one of the assets. They hit one of our camps of RVs that are on the road, big, huge 40-foot diesel pushers, or one of our big sailing vessels, a tall ship, a stern wheeler, a big ice class research vessel we've converted with nothing but fun aboard it, and they want in. And now you have a sale. You didn't sell anything, did you? You just showed them the product, and the product sold itself. That's sex selling itself. And that's what this project is all about. So this is the Breeze. The Breeze is a 96-foot Army tug. It sleeps 16 plus staff, plus crew, and it's killer. I mean, this doesn't cost very much. We have this cruising around Puget Sound, and several of these are Puget Sound based, but we're going all over the world. This is a 100-plus vessel fleet we're building here. It's going to be in the Orient. It's going to be in Europe. It's going to be in the Bahamas. It's going to be in the Mediterranean. It's going to be down in Rio. It's going to be in South Africa. It's going to be the Great Barrier Reef, Sydney, New Zealand, Christchurch. We're not stopping, but we're building this as a nucleus. This is where the headquarters will come out of, is Puget Sound. There's a reason for that I'll go into later. So I'm going to wrap this up, and there's further reading, further digging you can do, further due diligence. You can contact us to get more information. We'll show you more things as you get deeper into this. Thanks very much for listening.